Let me tell you about a man who knew that men are generally more ready to believe what they wish to be true than what they know to be true. Julius Caesar. Chapter 1. The Invisible Hand. Your reputation, a fragile thing. Others whisper. They judge, they decide your worth. Understand these invisible forces before they decide it for you. Understood what most refuse to see even today. Men are moved more by what they believe to be true than by the truth itself. Right now, unseen hands are writing parts of your story. They are shaping how you are seen, how you are judged, how you are valued. Without you even realizing, the pen has left your grip. This isn't just about gossip. It's about the invisible chains that bind your potential. They tell you that your achievements will speak for themselves. This is a dangerous lie. Your destiny is not purely forged by your actions, but by the story that surrounds those actions, the meaning others assign to them. Every perception they hold about you becomes a quiet vote against your freedom, a small barrier to your growth. When others define you, they limit you. They put you in a box based on past mistakes, perceived weaknesses, or even imagined slights. They prejudge your capabilities, predetermine your opportunities, and preempt your future without ever asking you for input. This silent narrative becomes a cage built from assumptions. Think about the friend whose ambition was dismissed because people whispered about their luck. Watch what happens when a colleague's hard work is overlooked because their quiet nature is framed as a lack of confidence. Their efforts are real, but the story surrounding them twists the outcome, warping their reality. This isn't always malicious. Sometimes it's just lazy interpretation, a convenient shortcut for others to understand you without effort. But whether intentional or not, the effect is the same. Your authentic self is slowly buried under layers of external projections. You find yourself constantly reacting, always on the defensive. Here's how this silent takeover drains you. You spend your energy fighting shadows, correcting misunderstandings, trying to prove what should be obvious. You are leaking power. This constant internal battle diverts your focus from building your actual life to managing an image that isn't truly yours. The moment you lose control of your story, you lose control of your trajectory. Every decision they make about you, every opportunity they deny you, every door they close is a direct consequence of the narrative they believe. Your future becomes a ripple effect of their unchecked assumptions. Sigmund Freud understood that much of our behavior is driven by forces beneath the surface, by unconscious drives and early experiences. What he understood about the individual mind also applies to the collective perception of you. The narratives others absorb about you sink deep, becoming an unconscious filter through which they interact with you, shaping their every reaction. If you announce your grand plans, people will whisper doubts, pick holes, or even actively try to undermine you. But if you quietly execute, building momentum behind a veil of ambiguity, there's nothing for them to attack. There's no fixed target for their projections or their jealousies to land on. They don't need to shout your failures from the rooftops. A subtle shrug, a knowing glance, a casual question about your past can plant a seed of doubt that blossoms into suspicion. These tiny acts of narrative warfare are often more effective than outright accusations. The insidious nature of this control lies in its quietness. It's not a direct confrontation. It's a slow erosion of your standing, your influence, your very identity. You wake up one day to find that the person they talk about, the person they believe you to be, is a stranger to you. You cannot afford to let others script your life. You cannot allow their biases, their fears, or their ambitions to dictate your value. The price of this complacency is your freedom. It is your potential, slowly suffocated. The path to reclaiming your power begins with understanding this invisible battlefield. It means recognizing the subtle ways your story is being stolen, piece by piece. What you need is not to shout your truth, but to strategically weave it into the fabric of reality itself. But there's another insidious leak, one that drains your most precious resource without you even feeling the drip, one that forces you to constantly chase acceptance. What is it? Chapter 2. The Silence Weapon. Loose lips, a dangerous truth. You betray yourself with every utterance, every explanation. Learn how your own words become your undoing and why silence is power. That insidious leak is your mouth. It is the constant need to explain, to justify, to reveal. This is the weapon others unknowingly use against you. The silence weapon turned inward. You give them all the raw material they need to build their story around you. A story that will never truly serve your own interests. Every word you utter, every detail you share about your plans or your past becomes a piece of data. They collect it, they sort it, they interpret it through their own biases, their own fears, their own limited understanding. You hand them the blueprint to your mind, and then you are surprised when they try to redesign your life. Watch what happens when you announce a grand ambition to your circle. The immediate flood of unsolicited advice, the subtle skepticism, the quiet doubts planted by those who resent your potential. They do not hear your vision. They hear an opportunity to impose their own limitations upon you. Your dream becomes a public commodity, open for debate and vulnerable to sabotage before it even takes root. When you speak, you give away your power. You move from a position of quiet strength to one of defensive explanation. They wait for you to flinch, to clarify, to plead for their understanding. The moment you need their validation, you are no longer the one in control. You are chasing their acceptance, trapped in their framework. Here's how you wield the silence weapon to your advantage. You become a sealed vault. Nothing leaks, nothing drains. Everything compounds within you, unseen, unheard, building immense pressure before release. When you refuse to speak, when you refuse to justify, you deny them the ammunition they crave. You give them nothing to twist, nothing to attack, nothing to project onto. As Sun Tzu wrote, all warfare is based on deception. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. What he understood is that your opponent cannot counter what they cannot perceive. By remaining silent about your true intentions, about your true strength, you render their strategies useless. You force them to fight a ghost. This strategic silence is not weakness. It is a profound display of self-control. It protects your focus, it preserves your energy. It allows you to operate in a realm where no one can touch your plans because no one knows they exist. Your actions become the only narrative, undeniable and unassailable. Think about the quiet master who simply produces results, never boasting, never declaring. Their work speaks for itself, leaving no room for argument or doubt. Then consider the loudmouth, always announcing their next big move, always explaining why they failed on the last one. One commands respect, the other commands pity. Confucius once taught that the superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions. This is why true power prefers to remain unspoken. It understands that talking about something subtracts from the energy required to do it. The world does not need to know your process, only your outcome. Let your results be the thunder that follows the lightning of your quiet effort. When you refuse to engage in the constant give and take of explanations, you force others to confront their own assumptions. Their projections become clear. Their hidden agendas surface. You learn more about them through their reactions to your silence than you ever would through direct interaction. You see who they truly are. The fool announces their sprint before they even tie their shoes, inviting judgment and attracting saboteurs. The wise runner laces up in the dark, runs the race in silence, and lets the finish line scream their victory. There is no counter-argument to a completed fact. There is no gossip against an accomplished truth. The silence weapon ensures your story remains yours, sculpted by your deeds alone. It creates an impenetrable shield around your intentions. But even silence can be misinterpreted, and some will try to fill that void with their own toxic interpretations. There is another powerful force they use to warp your story, one that twists your past into a weapon against your future. It's the subtle art of historical revision. What is it? Chapter 3. Mirror Deception. Mirror deception, a potent weapon. Their own darkness becomes your shield, their shadows your disguise. Master this, become invisible. Your quiet actions, your strategic silences, become screens onto which others project their own rot. This is mirror deception, the unconscious twisting of your reality through their own broken lenses. They do not see you as you are. They see a reflection of their own fears, their own regrets, their own hidden desires. This distorts your intentions, your motives, your very character, until the image they hold of you is a monster of their own making. They will paint you as manipulative because they themselves are manipulative. They will accuse you of selfishness because their own world revolves around their wants. Watch what happens when you make a quiet move, a decision that benefits you but harms no one. The insecure will see it as a threat, a direct challenge to their meager standing. The envious will perceive it as a flaunting of success, a deliberate act to make them feel small. They cannot conceive of a pure motive because their own motives are never pure. This isn't about your actions, it's about their internal landscape. Your presence simply triggers their own unaddressed trauma, their unacknowledged shadow self. They externalize their personal devils and pin them onto you, believing they are fighting an enemy when they are merely wrestling with themselves. Here's how you turn this against them. Instead of fighting their projections, you feed them. You don't confirm their accusations, but you present a surface ambiguous enough to hold their preferred interpretation. Give them just enough space to project what you want them to project, to see what serves your larger goal. If they see you as ambitious, let them. If they see you as cold, allow it. These are not flaws if they serve as a shield. These projected traits become convenient excuses for your behavior, reducing the need for you to explain, to justify, to reveal your true hand. What Carl Jung understood is that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You don't need to make their darkness conscious for them. You simply recognize its power and use it. Their projected fears become your invisible armor, deflecting true scrutiny. They will exhaust themselves fighting a phantom, a figment of their own creation. While they struggle with this false image, you operate unimpeded in the real world. They are trapped in their own mind game, a self-defeating loop of suspicion and confirmation bias. This is why you never explain. When you try to clarify, you drag their projections into the light, forcing them to confront their own biases. They will resist this with ferocity, doubling down on their flawed perception rather than admitting their own internal mess. But if you remain opaque, presenting a surface that can hold multiple interpretations, they will always choose the one that best fits their pre-existing biases. They will pick the story that makes them feel justified, their internal landscape confirmed, their desperate need to be right fulfilled. They want to believe a certain story about you, one that aligns with their worldview, their own self-image. Give them precisely that. Let them write your villain arc in their head while you quietly achieve your objectives. Their belief system becomes a tool. Napoleon Bonaparte once remarked that a leader is a dealer in hope. What he understood is that people believe what they want to believe. If you can subtly guide their desires, their projections will do the work for you, cementing a perception that benefits your strategy without you ever having to lie. The enemy you create in their mind distracts them from the true threat, your silent, calculated advance. It is a psychological smokescreen, a diversion of their mental resources. They are fighting a ghost, and the longer they fight it, the more exhausted and blind they become. This mirrored deception is a powerful weapon in your arsenal. It is the art of letting others unknowingly build your camouflage. But there is another subtle trick they play, one that turns your past achievements into chains for your future. What is it? Chapter 4, First Strike Advantage. Your reputation is a battlefield. To yield the first blow in defining yourself is to invite your own ruin. Control your narrative, or be controlled. That trick is allowing others to define who you are, what you've done, and what you mean. You stand there, waiting for the world to see your true intentions, while they are already busy painting their own version of you. This is the oldest trap, the subtle strangulation of your future, before it even has a chance to breathe. If you don't take the first strike in defining yourself, someone else will always step in to do it for you, and their version will never serve your interests. When you allow an outside force to set the terms of your identity, you immediately surrender your strategic position. You become reactive, constantly playing defense against whispers, assumptions, and outright fabrications. Every word you speak, every action you take, is then seen through their lens, twisted to fit the story they've already told. This is how reputations are poisoned, how careers are derailed, and how potential is choked out of existence. Think about the politician who lets a minor gaffe become a scandal because he failed to preemptively frame his intentions, or the entrepreneur whose innovative idea is dismissed as naive because a competitor quickly painted him as inexperienced. They didn't just lose a battle, they lost the war for perception before it even began. Their narrative was stolen, and with it, their power. Here's how you seize that power. You strike first. You establish your narrative before anyone else has a chance to. This isn't about bragging or making grand announcements. It's about subtle, consistent, and proactive shaping of how you are perceived. It's about planting seeds of truth, or at least your version of it, long before the harvest. You control the information flow. You curate the anecdotes. You manage the small, revealing gestures that build a larger, more powerful image. This means allowing carefully selected bits of information about your goals, your character, or your methods to surface on your terms, not as a direct statement, but as an observation someone else might make, an impression they might form. What Julius Caesar understood is that victory wasn't just won on the battlefield. It was won in the Senate, in the hearts of the Roman people, and in his own commentaries that shaped history. He didn't wait for others to write his story. He wrote it himself, with every decisive march and every carefully crafted dispatch. He knew that the first word often held more weight than all the words that followed. If you wait for others to praise you, you might wait forever. If you wait for them to understand you, you hand them the pen to write your story. But if you quietly, deliberately, and consistently establish your own narrative, there's nothing for them to fight against. There's no void for them to fill with their own poison. Your truth is already solid, already accepted. They will try to find fault. They will try to find weakness. But if your narrative is already in place, if you have already defined your strengths and acknowledged your calculated risks, their attacks will simply bounce off. They will appear petty, ill-informed, or simply wrong because you have already set the standard. Aristotle, in his discussions on rhetoric, understood that the persuader's character, their ethos, was often the most powerful tool. It wasn't just about logic or emotion, it was about how the audience perceived the speaker. When you define your own narrative, you are building that ethos from the ground up, shaping the character that others will believe and trust. You become the authority on yourself. This is not manipulation for manipulation's sake. It is self-preservation. It is strategic defense disguised as offense. It is understanding that the world will always judge you, and your only choice is whether you let them do it blindly or if you guide their gaze, you mold the clay before they have a chance to throw it at a wall. They cannot attack what they do not fully comprehend, especially when their comprehension is already framed by your design. They will react to the shadows you cast, not the substance you embody. This proactive control ensures that every interaction, every challenge, meets a mind already prepared to interpret it in your favor. But there is another insidious tactic they deploy, one that capitalizes on your past successes and turns them into static expectations. What is it? Chapter 5: The Exposed Flank. Exposed flanks. The world whispers vulnerability is strength. A lie, my friends. I will show you precisely why revealing your struggles invites not solace but absolute ruin. The greatest vulnerability you can expose is the truth of your struggle. They tell you to be open, to share your pain, to find strength in admitting weakness. This is a deliberate deception. It is not strength you gain. It is ammunition you hand to your enemies. A clear sightline to your most tender points. They will not offer comfort. They will identify the soft spots, the pressure points, the leverage they can use to break your resolve and redefine your worth. Watch what happens when you reveal a personal battle, a financial setback, or a deep-seated insecurity. The moment it leaves your lips, it ceases to be your private burden. It becomes public data, ready to be analyzed, twisted, and weaponized. They will use it in whispered conversations, in subtle slights, in carefully crafted scenarios designed to remind you and everyone around you of your perceived limitations. It becomes the lens through which they interpret all your actions. Your struggle becomes their story about you. Think about the person who overshares their past traumas or their current anxieties. Others begin to see them not as a whole person, but as the sum of their wounds. Every ambitious move they make is dismissed as an overcompensation. Every attempt at leadership is undermined by doubts about their emotional stability. They become defined by the narrative of their brokenness, not their potential. Here's how you seal that exposed flank. You cultivate an impenetrable front, not of arrogance, but of deliberate emotional self-sufficiency. You learn to process your deepest challenges internally, or with a very select, trusted few who have no agenda but your well-being. This inner circle must be smaller than you think. You show the world a stoic resolve, a quiet strength that gives them nothing to grasp, nothing to exploit. If you announce your vulnerabilities, seeking sympathy or understanding, you invite pity, and pity is a degrading currency. It diminishes your power and invites condescension. But if you quietly overcome your struggles, if you emerge stronger without broadcasting the pain, there's nothing for them to dissect. There's only the undeniable evidence of your resilience, a silent power that commands respect, not pity. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, understood this intimately. He wrote extensively about the importance of self-sufficiency and the dangers of allowing one's inner peace to be disturbed by external factors, including the opinions or judgments of others. What he understood is that displaying your suffering does not free you. It often binds you more tightly to the very chains you seek to escape, making you dependent on external validation for relief. True freedom comes from within, from mastering your own mind, not from exposing its fragility to an indifferent or hostile world. The world does not reward weakness, it preys on it. When you lay bare your insecurities, your adversaries gain a map to your psychological defenses. They will probe those weaknesses relentlessly, not out of malice necessarily, but because it is human nature to exploit what is freely offered. You give them the tools to construct a negative image of you, one that highlights your limitations and overshadows your strengths. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the will to power, of overcoming. For him, the display of weakness was a betrayal of the self, an invitation for others to pity or dominate rather than to respect or admire. Nietzsche understood that to reveal your wounds indiscriminately is to invite a judgment of inferiority. to present yourself as less than whole, less than capable of standing on your own. True power, he suggested, lies in transmutating suffering into strength, often in silence, allowing your achievements to speak for themselves rather than your pain. This isn't about denial or repression. It's about strategic concealment. It's about understanding that the battlefield of perception is real, and every piece of information you release about yourself is a chess piece on that board. You decide which pieces move, which are sacrificed, and which are kept hidden, protecting your king. Never give them an easy target. Never offer a detailed blueprint of your emotional landscape. But there's another subtle way they try to dictate your path, a more insidious trap that doesn't rely on your weaknesses but on your strengths. What is it? Chapter 6. Deeds, not declarations. Silence is a weapon. They demand your pronouncements, your grand visions. But revealing too much too soon invites ruin. Guard your intentions. The trap is simple. They want your declarations, not your deeds. They push you to announce your plans, to speak your future into existence, to broadcast every intention. This exposes your raw ambition, your vulnerable hopes, to the cold scrutiny of the world before they are fully formed. Every public statement becomes a target, every promise a potential weapon against you. Watch what happens when you loudly proclaim a new direction. People will immediately dissect it. They will offer unsolicited advice, project their own failures onto your ambition, or secretly hope you stumble. You lose the element of surprise, the quiet period of growth, where you can adapt and refine without constant judgment. Your energy drains into defending your intentions, not building your reality. This is why the silent builder always wins. They don't announce their house is being built, they just lay brick after brick. They don't declare their new skill, they just practice it relentlessly. Then, one day, the house stands, the skill is undeniable, and the narrative is already written by facts. There is no argument against a completed structure or a demonstrated mastery. Think about the leader who constantly talks about change versus the one who simply enacts it. The talker creates anticipation and then often disappointment. The doer creates a new reality that people must confront and adapt to. Their actions become the undeniable truth, reshaping perception without a single persuasive word. Here's how you wield this power. Operate in a silent war room. Your plans are not for public consumption. Your goals are not to be validated by external noise. You build in the dark, refining your strategy, sharpening your tools, executing with precision. Only when your work is substantial, when it's nearing completion, or has already delivered impact, do you allow it to be seen. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman, understood this profound truth. He taught that the true path to mastery was through relentless practice and a focus on the immediate action, not through boastful declarations of skill. He said, "Do nothing which is of no use." What he understood is that every word not tied to an immediate useful action is a drain on your energy, a distraction from the only thing that truly matters, results. Contrast this with the common folly. Most people announce their intentions, seeking applause or permission. They want to be seen as the person who will do something great. This need for external validation bleeds their power, leaving them exposed and often unmotivated when the initial hype fades. They build narratives of potential, not narratives of accomplished fact. A truly powerful narrative is not crafted through clever words. It is forged through consistent, undeniable action, your behavior, your results, your quiet victories. These are the sentences, paragraphs, and chapters of your true story. They are harder to argue with, impossible to dismiss, and far more persuasive than any spoken promise. Consider Abraham Lincoln. Navigating the deepest divisions of his nation, he did not constantly make grand declarations about what he would do to preserve the Union. Instead, his entire presidency was a relentless series of difficult, often unpopular actions. He stood firm, executing his vision through policy, through command, through the sheer force of will, allowing his deeds to slowly, agonizingly redefine the nation's future. What he understood is that some battles are won not by shouting louder, but by quietly doing the hard, necessary work day after day. The narrative isn't what you say you're going to do, it's what you've already done. It's the irrefutable evidence of your impact, your persistence, your unwavering commitment. This strategy forces others to react to your accomplished facts, not to your speculative future. They cannot argue with a finished project, they cannot dismiss a proven track record. They are left with no choice but to adjust their perception, their expectations, and their own actions based on the reality you have silently created. You control the narrative, not by speaking it, but by living it. You craft your story with the hammer and chisel of persistent effort, not with the delicate brushstrokes of hopeful words. Your actions become the undeniable proof, the solid ground upon which your reputation stands, impervious to the winds of gossip or the currents of opinion. So seal your lips, open your eyes, and engage your hands. Build your empire in silence. Let the world witness the completed structure, not the messy blueprint. Chapter 7. The Unwritten Story. The unwritten story, a weapon, sharper than any blade. Let your silence speak volumes, controlling the narrative by saying nothing at all. Beyond the silence of your actions, there is another power you must wield, the unwritten story. This is not about hiding your truth, but about controlling its release, letting others fill the empty spaces with their own projections, their own fears, their own hopes. You feel the constant urge to explain yourself, to clarify your motives, to correct every perceived misunderstanding. This is a weakness, it is a drain, it forces you onto the defensive before the game has even begun. Every time you explain, you surrender a piece of your power. You hand them the pen to write your narrative, allowing their interpretations to become more solid than your own quiet reality. They don't want your truth. They want to feel clever for having figured you out, for having dissected your intentions. Your clarity becomes their tool for control, a blueprint for their manipulation, a sign of your need for their approval. Think about the person who constantly over-explains. They become transparent, predictable. Their every move is preceded by a verbose justification, a plea for validation. They are an open book, and an open book is easily judged, easily dismissed. There is no mystique, no intrigue, no weight to their presence, because they've already given away the entire plot before anyone even asked. They mistake endless explanation for true communication. Here's how you turn this to your advantage. Cultivate ambiguity. Let silence be your canvas and strategic omissions your brushstrokes. Do not rush to fill every informational void about yourself, your plans, or your next move. Allow the questions to linger, the curiosity to build, the speculation to swirl around you like a mist. This is not deception, it is strategic restraint. When you announce your grand schemes, you give your adversaries a target. They can prepare, they can counter, they can undermine. But if you quietly operate, if your intentions remain veiled, there is nothing concrete for them to attack. They are forced to fight ghosts, to grapple with their own anxieties about what you might be planning, what you might become. They waste their energy on phantom threats, while you conserve yours for real action. The master artist, Leonardo da Vinci, understood the profound power of the unsaid, the unfinished, the ambiguous. His paintings, like the Mona Lisa, are legendary not just for what they show, but for what they suggest, for the lingering questions they provoke, that enigmatic smile, that uncertain gaze. It forces the viewer to project their own feelings, their own interpretations onto the canvas, making the art infinitely more compelling and enduring. What he understood is that true depth is often found in the spaces between explicit statements. This strategic ambiguity doesn't just confuse your enemies, it empowers you. It makes you appear deeper, more thoughtful, more formidable. People naturally imbue the mysterious with greater significance, greater power. They assume you have hidden depths, secret resources, a master plan they cannot yet grasp. Their imagination becomes your greatest weapon, painting a picture of you that is often far grander than any explanation you could offer. You are forcing them into a position where they must react to their own internal projections, their own fears and desires, rather than to your explicit statements. This throws them off balance. They will expend energy trying to decipher you, trying to guess your next move, trying to understand what you might secretly be doing. While they are busy chasing shadows, you are quietly building, quietly advancing, quietly securing your position. Winston Churchill, a statesman who navigated the treacherous waters of war and diplomacy, famously remarked, "A lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on." He understood the speed and impact of narrative, but also the power of controlled information. He knew that sometimes allowing a certain narrative to exist, even if incomplete or slightly inaccurate, could serve a greater strategic purpose, keeping opponents guessing and preventing them from pinpointing the definitive truth too soon. What he truly understood was that the ultimate power belonged to the one who dictated what was known and what was left to the imagination. Let your story be unwritten, a masterpiece in progress, a compelling enigma. Let others try to write it for you, with their hasty assumptions and frantic guesses. Your true narrative will unfold through your actions, not through your explanations. And by then, their hastily written scripts will be obsolete. Chapter 8. Shaping the Lens. Perception, a battleground. To cede control is to surrender your very soul. You must seize the narrative or watch your legacy become a weapon in another's hand. The true narrative unfolds through actions, not through explanations, and by then, their hastily written scripts will be obsolete. But even your actions can be twisted, viewed through a poisoned lens. If you surrender control of the channels that define perception, this is where most people fail. They let others shape the very mirrors through which their world is seen. They tell you to let your work speak for itself, a convenient lie that leaves you exposed. Your work, your character, your intentions, all of it becomes raw material for your enemies to mold. When you do not actively shape the lens through which you are perceived, others will gladly do it for you, bending reality to their advantage. They will cherry-pick facts, invent motives, and broadcast their distorted version until it hardens into public truth. Watch what happens when a competitor launches a groundbreaking product, but every major tech review site, every prominent industry blogger, and every key social media influencer is quietly aligned against them. The product could be revolutionary, but the perception is manufactured. People will read carefully worded critiques, see subtle dismissals, and within days the narrative will solidify, promising but flawed, or overhyped, not quite there. The competitor never gets a fair hearing because their story is not being told through their own channels. Here's how you seize that power. You become the architect of perception, not merely a participant in it. You understand that the battle for reality is fought on the platforms where information travels. This means starving your enemies of oxygen by denying them the loudest megaphones, or by subtly influencing the message before it even reaches those platforms. You cultivate your own avenues, however small or indirect, where your chosen version of events can take root and spread. If you foolishly attempt to correct every false report or respond to every smear on platforms you do not control, you merely amplify their message. You lend credibility to their lies by engaging them. But if you quietly build your own channels, if you feed the right information to the right people through the right conduits, there is no public debate, only a gradual, undeniable shift in understanding. Your truth becomes the default because it is the only one consistently heard through trusted sources, even if those sources are subtly guided by your hand. Plato, in his allegory of the cave, illustrated how people's reality is defined by the shadows they are allowed to see on the wall. He understood that the masses often mistake distorted reflections for truth, forming their entire worldview based on limited, controlled input. Your task is to become the one who controls the light source, the one who decides which shadows are cast and which remain unseen. Think about how a brand dominates its market, not just through product quality, but by controlling every touch point of the customer experience. Steve Jobs was a master of this, meticulously crafting not just products, but the entire narrative around them, from the design on the box to the layout of the retail store. He was relentless in ensuring the Apple story was told exactly as he intended, because he knew that perception was reality. He didn't just sell phones, he sold a curated vision of the future, delivered through channels he completely owned or profoundly influenced. This control extends beyond direct channels. It reaches into the minds of those who interpret information. You must learn to subtly prime the audience, to set the initial frame through which all subsequent events will be judged. What happens next when you encounter the silent architects of influence, those who shape the very filters through which decisions are made? How do you disarm the unseen hands that steer the game before it even begins? This is the next layer of control. Chapter 9, Your Absolute Truth. Define your truth, or become a pawn. This silent war for your very being demands strategy, for your enemies will paint you as they wish. The unseen hands are those who define the very air you breathe, the unspoken rules. They do not just challenge your statements, they challenge the premise of your existence. This is the fight for your absolute truth, the core of who you are and what you stand for. Every whisper, every glance, every silence becomes a weapon in this quiet war. If you do not define yourself, others will do it for you. They will construct a version of you convenient for their agenda, painting you with strokes of their ambition or fear. You will find yourself trapped in a cage made of their assumptions, unable to move, unable to breathe. Your actions will be misinterpreted, your intentions twisted, until you no longer recognize your own reflection. Watch what happens when you let them plant seeds of doubt about your integrity or your capabilities. The perception slowly crystallizes, hardening into a reality that is not yours. Doors close, opportunities vanish, and trust erodes, not because of what you did, but because of what they made others believe you did. Your future is not your own. Here's how you take back that power. You become the first voice, the foundational narrative. Before any event unfolds, before any accusation can be whispered, you have already established the frame. You set the stage, define the terms, and position yourself in a light that serves your long-term aims. This is not about lying. It is about strategic precedence. If you announce your virtues, people will scrutinize them, looking for flaws, waiting for you to stumble. But if you quietly embody those virtues, if you simply allow your actions to speak through a carefully constructed narrative, there is nothing for them to fight against. You become the definition, not the subject of it. Marcus Aurelius, who understood the true battlefield lies within, wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What he understood is that your internal narrative must be impervious to external assault. You control your perception of self, and from that unshakable core, you project an undeniable truth to the world. This inner citadel, this fortress of self-definition, is where all true power originates. When you are certain of your path, when you are convinced of your mission, that conviction radiates outwards. It influences how others see you, how they speak of you, and how they react to your presence. Doubt from within invites chaos from without. Being reactive means you are always playing defense, constantly justifying, constantly explaining. Being proactive means you dictate the game, setting the pace, choosing the terrain. You become the source, the origin point of all understanding, rather than a mere recipient of judgment. This is the difference between being hunted and being the hunter. Socrates, the great examiner of life, famously declared that the unexamined life is not worth living. He taught that knowing oneself, understanding your own beliefs and motivations is paramount. This profound principle reveals that self-knowledge is the ultimate defense against external manipulation. If you truly know who you are, no one can tell you otherwise. Your absolute truth is built on this foundation of rigorous self-examination. It is not an illusion. It is an optimized reality. You understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your intentions. This clarity allows you to craft a narrative that is both authentic and powerfully strategic, one that aligns with your deepest purpose, making it impenetrable. Mastery over your narrative means you are the author of your own legend. You control the past by framing its lessons, you control the present by dictating its meaning, and you control the future by laying its foundations. Nothing is accidental. Everything is by design. Fail to seize this control, and you surrender your essence. You become a character in someone else's story, an extra in their drama, a pawn in their game. They will write your lines, define your role, and ultimately determine your ending. This is not freedom. This is servitude. But command your narrative, and you command your destiny. You move with purpose, unburdened by external judgments, unswayed by the shifting sands of public opinion. Your influence is silent, pervasive, and absolute. This is the pinnacle of strategic power. Your narrative is your shield, your sword, and your blueprint for existence. Guard it fiercely, craft it with precision. Let no one else hold the pen. The moment you yield authorship, you cease to be truly alive